freshman year of high school, middle of the pandemic, my teacher decided to tell us a story. And this story was the Sword of Damocles. Some of you might have heard it before, but for those of you who haven't, it goes like this. Damocles is a peasant, and he really wants to be king, and so he goes up to the king and goes, "Hey, buddy, you, me, swap places, you become a peasant, I become king, good deal, good deal?" And the king agrees to this, which, decision on his part, but Damocles becomes king. And he spends his day doing all of the wonderful kingly activities you'd imagine, like drinking the wine, and having the fun foods, and living life at the height of luxury. And so the day goes on, and midday rolls around, and he starts getting tired. And he goes over to the king's throne, the beautiful golden chair embedded with rhinestones and jewels, with beautiful ornate carvings in it. And he sits back, and he looks up at the ceiling just a bit. And right when he does that, right above his head, he sees a sword held up by only a single horsehair. And to me, this story has always been a fantastic representation of the double-edged sword that is life. On one hand, Damocles got all he ever wanted, but he now has a looming threat of death, so win some, you lose some. But in some capacity, everyone can relate to that story. But for my generation, Gen Z, that story is our day-to-day existence. Right now, Generation Z are people between the ages of 10 and 25. So we haven't really been around all that long. But in the time we have, we've caused some incredible change. We've helped to lead efforts on rebranding gender and sexuality and what that means within society. Conversations about pronouns are no longer something that is restricted just to a closet. We helped to start at least acknowledging the societal racism that's ingrained within our society with the Black Lives Matter movement. And if we even take it back a few more years than that, Team Trees, a giant charity that was started through YouTubers with a goal of raising $10 million to plant 10 million trees in just a few months. And although the YouTubers doing this were not themselves Gen Z, their audience, the ones raising the money, they were. The change that our generation has caused is already going down in history books, and that is beyond incredible, but it is just one side of that double-edged sword. Only 45% of Gen Z reports having good health, according to the American Psychology Association, and that number is far, far lower than other generations, especially like boomers. I can say right now, as a high school student, the pressure I have on me to perform and do things all of the time, it's incredible. My entire life, I've been asked questions to the extent of, what are you going to do with your life to help others? How are you going to make a difference in the world? What are you doing to make that impact? And even statements to, the world is so lucky to have scientists like you who want to save it. It is so lucky to have people as caring and thoughtful as you. And I get the sentiment behind those statements, but it creates this idea that our worth as a generation, our worth as a person is defined as what we are always doing for someone else. And when you are always living with the idea of what you are doing for other people, you are never going to be happy. That is a standard you can never reach. That is something you can never fulfill. Our generation has been the first generation raised on the internet. The devices that we keep in the palms of our hands, they are how we communicate. Our generational culture is social media. That is how we interact with each other. That's how we talk to our friends. And so every time we go to see with our friends, to see all of the good and to talk about it, like, look, my new friend, they just got a puppy. And every time we go to do that, we go to see that good and have that positivity, we go and we see all of the negative. Because if you've ever been on the internet, I'm sure you've seen the sheer amount of greatness that's on there. And I am 15 right now, and I have seen videos of people gunned down and murdered in the streets. I've seen riots. I've seen serial killers talk about how they enjoyed killing their victims. So while we go to see our friends, and it's like, look at this cute new puppy. Look at the guy who died last week. Because that is that double-edged sword. Because yes, there is so much good, and we see it, we really do, but there is also so much bad. And if you've ever had a long conversation with someone in my generation, you've probably heard this idea of, well, the world's gonna die, and I'm gonna die with it, so what's the point? And at least to me, I don't think that a lot of us truly think that. We know what we do matters. The actions we do are important. And we know that. But to the amount that we say that statement, that we're just gonna die, you can't say that as much as we do and not in some way believe that. And so to you, to other generations, you have been such a guiding light, especially through this pandemic. You've been walking us through this. But that hope that you held for us, it's become an expectation on us. And I want to tell you that you can have that for yourself too. You are just as capable as making the change that we are. And that is amazing. But when we do, when my generation, when we share our voice, when we talk on these issues, I ask you to listen. What we have to say is important. And I'm sick and tired of not being heard. And so to you, to my generation, I see you. I see you in the morning when you get up. I see how much effort you spend on everything, how much dedication you have. And I am so proud of you, but it is not your job to have to be there for everyone else, for everything else, 100% of the time. You are worth it. Preserve yourself. The foundation of a building is just as important as every other piece in it, because that building cannot exist without the concrete floors and the steel beams. I am so proud to be a part of your generation. Thank you.